According to an Australian study in 2014, anxiety and depression is on the rise among modern-day teenagers. The focus of this documentary is anxiety, and to try and find out if there is any evidence to support this study. To do so, we have interviewed a professional on the subject and several teenagers who suffer from various forms of anxiety to find out about anxiety in adolescents.
My main one would be presenting.
I've got generalised anxiety disorder.
I don't know.
I have generalised anxiety and paranoia.
My main anxiety is around food.
I think it's just horrible.
Pretty much worry about everything.
Have you ever been in a plane and then remembered that gravity exists and gravity has always existed and you're just like flying through the air in a massive piece of metal and you're about to fall and die?
Being in big crowds or being alone for too long.
Texture, like with mushrooms, feel all rubbery and horrible, or like smells of things like cola bottles. Or even just the sight of it, I mean like mashed potato, just white mess.
There's a number of causes of anxiety, but the symptoms that people get with anxiety, it's just a physical reaction. In terms of causes, some of the more common anxieties you get are being in social situations. So if some people don't like crowds, equally you can get people who become anxious when they're on their own. So it could be either end of that spectrum. Feeling anxious in a given situation that only happens once, that's acute. Chronic is where someone becomes anxious pretty much every day and it's going on for a long time.
It's the pressure of like everyone staring at me and like the feeling that everyone in the head is like judging me and laughing at me.
Anything can trigger it.
Big groups of people and it can be a lot of noise coming from different places and like people talking over each other. Realising I've forgotten something and it can be just like unprovoked.
It affects my family more than my friends because I have to constantly check to see if they're okay because my paranoia and my anxiety thinks of scenarios that aren't really happening.
It affects me because my diet is a bit all over the place.
Can anxiety be caused by puberty?
What tends to happen is around puberty, early adolescence, a range of situations that happen. So things like physical changes in the body, becoming physically mature. For some people that's a badge of honour. For other people it's absolutely terrible and it can be debilitating. So again, it's more about the person's reaction to puberty and maturing. And it depends on other people's reaction to their reaction. So people's peers can make anxiety a lot worse or can be a supportive factor in managing it.
Whether I have someone come talk to me or whether I just want to be alone, but normally I like someone to talk to and just sit outside the room and take a few breaths.
I try to do the breathing exercises, which sounds stupid, but it does work sometimes.
My best ways of dealing with it are just trying to like ride it out and trying to like kind of ground myself.
I have to just constantly ring and check they're okay.
If like people are eating like and I begin to feel like ill, I'd leave.
Does anxiety have a greater effect on either gender?
It does tend to be that women suffer from anxiety more. That's what the statistics say. That may not be because women suffer from anxiety more. It's just that more cases are recorded. And there is a view that because women are more likely to come forward and seek help, that's why you get bigger numbers. So there may be thousands of men out there suffering from anxiety. They don't come forward and get help. They may actually self-manage it. So the records would show loads of women coming forward with anxiety. In terms of adolescents, again, figures would say more prevalent in females. It's probably that it's a mixture of young women being more emotionally mature, emotionally intelligent, and also that young women are more likely to come forward.
How would defeating it would change your life?
Oh, it'd be amazing.
I'd just be able to do so many more things without panicking.
Everything would change.
Well, I'd say some minutes and some text for sure, but probably be quite life-changing because I wouldn't be constantly thinking of scenarios and I'd probably be able to stay home alone.
I'd be able to have a solid 3 meals a day Hopefully then I'll put on weight because I'm severely underweight. And hopefully I'll feel more awake and more alive. I'll have more energy to do things. Hopefully I'll be happier within myself because like my body will be better.
Is there any way that anxiety can be dealt with?
There are types of medication that will quell anxiety, but it doesn't really deal with it. It's just masking it. There are some really good talking therapies in terms of dealing with anxiety. Cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, or solution-focused brief therapy. Either of those can be really effective, and it's about enabling the person to deal with anxiety better and recognising that anxiety isn't an illness as such, because every single person becomes anxious at some point. It's a natural state. It's when it becomes so severe that it affects your daily life, that's when you need an intervention.
I get scared about a lot of things, like the news, like if I hear bad stuff on the news.
On one hand, there's a lot more awareness around it, so a lot more people understand it. And there's things like online CBT, like there are ways that you can receive treatment for it in your home. But I think there's also a lot more room for negative impact.
There's a lot of things on the internet that you wouldn't have seen when you're alone at home.
I think it does definitely have more of an impact, like now that we have the internet, because it's the biggest double-edged sword going.
Now is a whole lot different than it was even 20, 30 years ago. Social media can be an agent that makes anxiety worse. However, it can also provide a lot of support.
I do think laughter is the best cure for it.
Just try not to put myself in those situations.
Play video games or have fun with my partner, play out, like go outside.
By taking extreme precautions.
There are lots of really good resources, forms of self-help. You can train for it. You can train for stressful situations. Probably one of the best is there's a mental health charity called Mind. They've got a really good website. And there's also the Royal College of Psychiatrists. They've got a good website, and there's a public section, so it's not all dead technical stuff. It's accessible and useful. Watch out for self-help books. Having said that, if you find something and it works, do more of it.
We hope that you have found the information and stories in this documentary helpful, and if you suffer from anxiety, that you can relate to some of the situations and know that you are not alone, and that one day you will be able to control your anxiety.